Hi, we're here with the Elite Fishing League, and I've got the first and second place winners. I was able to catch them coming out from doing their green screen and doing your debriefing for the show with Dwayne Eschete and Paul Dufrene. Paul, you took it yesterday and you took it with a vengeance. How does it feel?
No, I mean, waking up this morning, it definitely feels great. Just with the new format, I think a lot of people had a lot of questions, just some uncertainty. But how everything played out round one, round two, and round three, I think everybody's pleased with the new format. And, just waking up as the round three champion and getting that ticket straight to the championship is definitely a great feeling because I definitely wouldn't want to have to face Dwayne, guy sitting right here on my right in the elimination round because I'm sure he's going to be fighting just as hard or maybe even harder to make it to that championship where only 5 anglers get to compete.
Right. And for you, how was this playing out? It's a reality show. You're so experienced at doing tournaments and having cameras there. Completely different format, shrouded in secrecy. How did that affect you?
You try not to think about it. You try to block all that out and just you and fishing, But when you're fishing against guys like T. Paul, you're always kind of looking over your shoulder, and you try not to get caught up in the moment. But with the score tracker, you can't help but know that, T. Paul's right there. And I kept on. I was like, I'm right there. I'm reachable. And he just keep on turning it on. It's incredible. I love it. Just the adrenaline flow is phenomenal.
And you broke records too yesterday, so now you hold the second record, world record, as far as when you came across with your triple digits, passed up Kevin, passed up Bo. And it almost seemed to the rest of us, and maybe you can clarify, maybe you don't want to admit it, but not only were you trying to take your fishing partner out as far as the gap and win it so you can prove you won by 60 pounds, but also to go on and to beat Chance Angel. Was that in the back of your head?
No, definitely. I don't think anybody expected 140 pounds or what Chance did. And not to throw the word 200 out there, but I definitely think in this format, this style, that somebody will break 200. And I think the night before the tournament, I took a black mark and I wrote 200 on my hand because that was my goal. It might have been a lofty goal, but I definitely think that somebody could do it. And I guess Chance set the bar of what's possible. And us guys, our type personalities, we always going to be pushing the bar and just trying to do something that somebody hasn't done. So that's going to be, it's going to be 150, 141 to 200. But I definitely think this format, depending on the area, depending on the conditions, that somebody will break out and have a 200-pound day.
And what do you think about the new way of fishing? No longer are you looking at those quality slides that you're so used to doing. Again, so many championships under both of you guys' belts. And then now you're going for quantity, not quality. And that has to play on you. You're not going to use the same techniques you used before. How did you change up to make those differences up?
Well, in this format, every fish counts. Whereas when we fish in tournaments, you're looking for those stud fish. You're looking for those quality fish, and you're passing up fish that you think is under 27 inches, and you're passing up fish that you think is 4, 5, 6 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever. And now it's like you're even looking for those little bitty fish out there that's floating around, and you're like, please, because because in this format, every fish counts. As we say, anglers, you got to put the fish on the deck.
Right.
Okay, and because it's a numbers game. Even in the regular tournaments, it's a numbers game. Okay, right. But even more so in this, every fish counts because that 3-pounder at the end is going to add up. Because when I was behind T. Paul, say at 21 pounds, I'm thinking in my head, okay, I need 3 7-pounders, or I need 5 3-pounders and 1 8-pounder. So those numbers are going off in your head, and that 3-pounder is going to all add up. So it's just the exciting feeling, and I think T. Paul will attest to this, that when we fish in regular tournaments, I don't feel I have the pressure on me because I know I have 8 hours, and at some point I'm gonna go around the corner and I'm gonna see 2 good fish. But in this format, it's like every cast, every minute is important because you only have 4 hours in that first session to be able to gain ground or make up ground or be in the lead and expand. So every fish counts. It seemed like it just flew by. To me,
It
time.
does, but how many in years past you come to weigh in, you hear guys talking on stage, man, I caught 30, 40 fish today. And then the guy that won, man, I had a terrible day. We caught 2 fish. And I mean, that's the difference. You have to catch the numbers. And I mean, every fish counts. It's definitely a game changer.
And this is where you're going to see if they're really lying about those 30. I caught 30, 40 fish and now is where they're going to bring it to the table. You know, you were really slick yesterday, and every decision does matter. Austin Angel, he marked that spot that you ended up, going in your streak at, and you got in there before he did. So, look, and you were in the hot spot and ready to go. What I saw consistently, or in the morning, you guys were going back and forth, right? So we had the 2 Cajun boys. What was it like? You had, obviously, Austin came in there. He was fighting for it. Chuck McKinney came out of nowhere. It was a good fight. What's going through your head as you think you got it? I think we talked about it earlier. I'd like you to expand on that. But then you hear that score tracker. He's got 7 pounds. He's got 5 pounds. How was that?
No, I mean, definitely. It's a different added pressure, something else that you have to think about, worry about. I mean, before fishing against Dwayne, I mean, you assume he's going to catch fish. You assume he's doing good, but it's something you don't know. Well, this way, you have to stay on the throttle. You can't let up. You got to, because, I mean, with the way the format is, with every fish count, you have to stay on the pedal because, I mean, they could catch boom, boom, boom and come out of nowhere and jump 20, 30 pounds in a matter of 5-10 minutes. So, I mean, just hearing that score tracker, it adds some pressure because, I mean, I think Dwayne might have caught the first fish and then I caught it and that feeling from when I jumped him to first, it's like, oh, and then I think he jumped 2 fish ahead, and it's like, man, and it's like, oh, here he goes, and then it's like, it makes you, and I mean, that's probably some of the decisions that I've made to move spots or move locations quicker because I had the feeling, man, he must be on some fish. I better go find something quick or I'll be so far behind that I won't be able to catch up.
And speaking of, and talking about the score tracker, now what it also got in your head because when it wasn't updating.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
but it just wasn't
I mean,
happening.
second period. I mean, I was catching fish pretty consistently, and then I would get a score tracker update, and nobody else's weight was moving. So then a whole round of emotions, like, man, maybe it ain't working right. It's new to us. Maybe it's not working right. Maybe they're in an area there's no service. I even asked my referee, I said, can they be sandbagging and just writing down the weights and waiting to the end to put them in?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it definitely throws a whole, with everything else we have on top of fishing by yourself, making decisions. I mean, the score tracker definitely threw a whole new set of emotions and thought process into fishing.
And like I said, it's not quality that you're looking for, although you guys have 1 mark, and after 1 ounce over that mark, which is the 10-pound mark, is the cutoff, and it's unscorable, right? So timing, let's hear what happened to you yesterday. It was right before the lunch break. You tell the story so well.
Oh, my gosh. It was so exciting. And, I mean, honestly, I've been in big moments of fishing, but this was so exciting because I think T. Paul had a 16-pound lead or something like that going in, and I mean, time's running out. You got your official telling you got 5 minutes left, you got 4 minutes left, and about 5 minutes in, I'm throwing at a fish, which seemed to be a real good fish. Looked like about a 7-8 pound fish, and he's off to my right. You throwing and you throwing and you throwing, and you're like, I'm making great casts. He just don't want to eat. It's like, come on, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I got to the point where I was like, I'm just giving up on him. I'm just not dealing with him. And I'm like 15, 20 feet from the bank. And all of a sudden, I stop looking at this when I turn, and I see out the corner of my eye a fish, and I'm like, oh, my. And I make the cast, and, I mean, immediately he hits, and I hook up, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, because now 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, well, most probably 4 or 3. So right away I go to the official. I say, how much time I got left? How much time I got left? Because I know I'm against the clock, And he's like, you have 3 minutes. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, oh, my God. You know what I mean?
You fishing heavy grass.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to be careful.
And, you've never been worried about that because we've never been in a time frame fishing a tournament where you pressed against time.
Right.
I mean, you got to be back at 3 o'clock. But even if you'd hook a fish where you say, hey, I got to leave at, at 1 o'clock, you're like, oh, well, if it takes till 1:10, oh, well, I got the fish right here I might need. And, I mean, I'm hooked up with this fish. This fish wraps up in all the grass and all this, and all of a sudden he just disappears. Now, and, in my head, I'm tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, top.
Minute
And-
20, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the longest 3 minutes in my fishing career, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the fish? And I'm talking about he's like 3 foot away, and I'm like, I don't see him. And I'm like, I got my line bowed up. I'm thinking I'm gonna break my rod, right? And I'm like, oh my god. So I pull the grass. I'm like, I gotta wedge this grass to the boat because I picked the trolling motor up, so I couldn't even troll motor to him, right? So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I get the grass next to me, and I got my rod here, and I'm like, pulling, wads of grass. I got my body in the water. I'm like, where you at? I'm like, how much time I got left? He's like, you got 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna make the time on this fish. I'm like, God. And I'm like, and finally I still don't see the fish, and I'm like, I don't know where he's at, but there's grass there. I'm just gonna take my net and I'm just gonna net all the grass and hope he's in the net, because if I come up with just grass and he's over there, I'm like, I'm done.
And
I'm
you were at 40
done.
seconds at that point.
Oh,
right
yeah,
there.
and the thing about it is, us. I mean, what happens is sometimes when you have that much pressure on them, you hit that fish with the net, you're just going to you're just going to pull the hook on them.
Right.
So all this is going through my head.
Right.
And, of course, I'm like, well, at this point, it don't matter. I got time. Time's
gotta
against
worry.
me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And, I mean, I netted put it all in the net. And at this point, I still don't know if I have the fish, right? I just got a net full of grass. So I'm there again. I'm still grabbing grass out the net and all of this, and all of a sudden I see the tail, and I'm like, I got the fish, and I'm like, how much time I got left? He said, legal fish, and I was like, whew. So I take the deep breath. So now I'm like, okay, he's in the net. I beat the 30 seconds left, okay, whatever, and then I start pulling
You don't even
grass
know
out.
what the fish is, huh?
I don't even know. All I see is a tail, right? I just see a tail. As I start pulling grass, I'm like, oh my gosh, this fish is too big. He's too big. I mean, he's a stud. I mean, I'm like, oh man, all this, I'm about to have a heart attack. I'm about to stroke out on this fish, and I pick him up. I done everything off the side of the boat, which was smart. You took the net and left it in the water, and I put the pincher on him. Yeah, fish gripper on him in it, and I'm like, when I go to pick, oh Lord, and I'm like, man, I'm about to stroke out. This fish is 11 pounds or whatever.
And Paul had that. Paul had a 10.05 that was unscorable, didn't you?
No, definitely. I mean, I had some struggles with fish coming off, so man, I finally catch one. It's like Dwayne said, in the net. It's like, you know it's cool. I mean, we've seen enough redfish.
Yeah.
It's like, this one's gonna be close.
It's like that 27. It's like that 27 and the 16th. You like,
So I mean, I put the fish grip on, I pick it up, and I mean, you try and not that we work out, me and Dwayne, but you're like, that probably feels about 10 pounds, hopefully 9.15 or something like that. So
Yeah.
he put ours on the scale, and it was like 10.05. I'm like, just another heartbreak.
yeah. And well, this fish right here, when I put him on, I'm like, I done built myself up. He's over. He's over. I mean, all this adrenaline I just wasted on this fish, and he's over. And he goes, and he's 9.15. I was like, yeah! I felt like my whole stroke was worth it at that point, you know what I mean? And then, so we riding back. I mean, that was it. We were out of time, and we're going back to lunch break, and he tells me, he says, I just want to let you know, when I put the fish on the scale, because what happens is when we hook the fish, when we let them go, it kind of like drops.
Right.
So your scale's going to go up, right?
Right.
And he was like, Dwayne, I just want to let you know, when you first put him on the scale, he went to 10.01. He says, I thought I was fixing to have to break your heart and tell you this fish was 10.01. And he said,
Settle back down.
he went 10.01, and then he told me it goes to half ounces.
Right.
And he said the fish was 9.15 and a half ounces.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Yeah.
and of course, we don't get to see the scale, so I have no idea.
Right.
I'm telling myself, boy, I bet you he just gave me that one.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I know they didn't, but I'm like,
Right.
because that fish looked like he was heavy,
Yeah.
But I'm like, God, how exciting. And of course, you're going in, and you're going into lunch break, and you get to go see everybody else, and we hear everybody's stories, about everybody this and that. But I was feeling great because I was pumped up, and I'm like, I get to go into round 2, and now I'm like 6 pounds, whatever, behind T. Paul, and I'm like, hey, it's anybody's game.
And that's what we were all looking for. So many fans were looking at that, and again, it's not just it's not a tournament. I mean, this is a tournament. Yes, it is a totally different format of fishing, but this is a reality show, and the reality of the trials and tribulations, these elating moments, these heartbreaking moments when you get the 10:05 on there, and people can see it. We had so many things go wrong with other anglers yesterday. I mean, in round 3, things happen, and luckily that was a great winning moment. Y'all went in, came in at lunch, and you did the same thing Chance Angel did. You come out 222, you got a fish. 225. There comes the big one.
10-pound. I mean, just going back after the period 1. I mean, the period 1, I think most guys kind of try to figure out. I mean, get our game plan. So I mean, into period 2, I mean, I had my mindset. That's where I'm going. That's where I seen the most fish, caught fish. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we got out there, and I had I think a little bit further run than Dwayne. So I mean, we get that thing. My first score tracker update. I mean, he had caught like 3 fish, and before I even saw, like, man, there comes the pressure of the score tracker. Yeah. So, but then I mean, second fish of the second period. I mean, 10-pound, kind of like Dwayne. It got in there. I mean, we kind of know what fish look like. So I was like, in my mind, I was saying, man, this is gonna be close. So put the fish grip on, hung it on the thing, and then I was on my knees, actually. I felt like I was praying. I'm like, man, come on, please, please, please. And then, I mean, I'm looking at my referee, and then he's like, 10, and then it's like it stopped in time, because you like think, 05, I just had one that was too big, and then he put 10, It's like, I'm probably the most excitement I've shown in the boat. Just
And T. Paul, I mean, you would say the same thing. I think one of the exciting things is we never get excited about every fish we catch in a regular tournament, except when you catch that 8-9 pounder. Right. And I mean, here, you're just so excited about every fish.
Right.
I mean, just excitement of every fish you catch a 5 pounder. When you're down by 6-7 pounds, you catch a 5 pounder, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had 9 that spit the hook yesterday, so, and that's got to, be demoralizing when you're worried about these kind of things, because then you don't know if it's you, because it's in your head, right? And you may be not executing things as flawlessly as you think you are because you're so nervous, but you did the same exact thing that we saw another champion do, and this is where you broke the one other record, and you came through and you ranked yourself. You get that 10-pound. It must have given you that air of confidence or that booster. Or what happened in your head? Because at that point, you broke out with a 7-fish lead, and that's when you just started slamming them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just after that fish, I mean, when you lose fish, it starts like, man, did I do something wrong? Is something wrong with my hook? Change rods, grab something. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the rod, but it's just a confidence thing. I mean, superstition where I grab different baits, just trying to change up something to break. I mean, at one point, I think I lost 3 fish in a row. It's like,
oh, wow.
In baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. I'm like, fishing against Dwayne and everybody else. I mean, you make mistakes like that, and I mean, typically it comes back to bite you in the butt. I mean, you have to execute flawlessly, make the right decisions, catch every fish that's presented. And when it's tough, I mean, if you have a fish on, you have to get that fish in the boat. So just having those struggles, losing those fish, I mean, it definitely makes you might fish a little. You might be a little more cautious trying to fight a fish and get them in there. But I mean, after I caught that fish, I mean, I settled down. I had a couple fish lead, and then I mean, as they present, I just started making better casts, and then they started coming in the boat.
And in repeating again, reality show, biggest thing as well is the whole new format. The way that you're doing this. We are seeing a huge reaction from fans, followers, friends, family members. They are loving this. They are loving the new format. So many people wanting to get involved now. What do you think this means for the sport of red fishing? Do you see the changing of the tides now? I mean, do you enjoy this format better than the other one?
Me personally, yes. I think I rather this better. And I know, like, T. Paul's involved in so many different things with young kids and sports. This fits us so much better from a time standpoint, because in regular tournaments we go and we might go 7 days before, depending on where we're going, and start pre-fishing, and then you got a 3-day tournament. Well, T. Paul, I mean, he's active in all his kids.
His kids. You got a 5th one on the way.
But I mean, but involved in sports, and I mean, I know I've been in those shoes. I know how much time it takes, and this right here, I mean, it's not going to take as much time for us to go do these things and still get to enjoy something we love.
And
Because
it makes a level playing field. Really,
absolutely.
I mean, it just. don't know the location, and I mean everybody got to start the same time, same day, and I mean in the old format, I mean a lot of tournaments have been won before the tournament even started.
Exactly.
From grandfathers and fathers that have passed down marks over the years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Heather, let me tell you something. I know there's a lot of talk. Hey, T. Paul is the man. I mean, he has in the last few years, T. Paul has, and I remember when he started, and he was this little young, and I say little young guy. I mean, he was this young guy, and we were all there at one point. I was there. 17, 18 years ago, where I was just this little young guy that was out there trying to make a name for myself, and I just wanted to fit in.
Right.
I mean, T. Paul, you can relate to that, and T. Paul has just. Everybody blames me, okay, honestly, because they said I sold T. Paul his first boat that changed his fishing career. The only way we're gonna make this sport better is for all of us to interact, okay? Because there's no secrets out there. I mean, there's no secrets. You get out of it what you put in it, okay? But in this format right here, we got Stacy, we got guys that are not the big name guys. I mean, fortunately, we're sitting here right now. But in this format, anybody could win this because Stacy, Chuck, myself, T. Paul, Austin, and our group, anybody could have ran across the school of fish and just, boom, 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 boom. So don't discredit yourself because you're fishing against guys like us. You just got to stay focused at this game and just be determined and just have the will and want to do it, and you can be successful. Okay, and look, in the fishing world, it's what you put into it. It's your heart. It's all in you, in what you want to do. And I mean, I'm so proud of this guy because, like I said, watching younger guys, some guys that we can pass the torch on to, and do so good. I feel good with guys doing great because if the same person won all the time, nobody's gonna want to do it.
Right.
It's an inspiration to other people to see a quality guy like T. Paul and some of the other guys. And I mean, that's what the sport's all about because, we can't continue being the guy carrying the torch. The torch has to be passed on. And hopefully T. Paul's that guy that passes on that torch from, me and some of the other guys have been the guys in the front and pass it on.
No, definitely. I mean, on Dwayne's point, I mean, anytime this guy's in a tournament, I mean, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And, I mean, stuff he might not know. I mean, I'm 40 years old, but, I mean, when I first started in the redfish, it's guys like Dwayne that I looked up to, and maybe I was in the shadows just listening. I mean, I think a lot of people can learn from just keeping your mouth shut and keeping your 2 ears open and listen from guys like Dwayne. And I'm becoming an older guy in the sport and been around enough, but it's just sit back, listen. I mean, sometimes people want to talk a little more than listen, or not say be braggadocious, but just
doc talk.
Yeah, I mean doc talk, and I mean when you first start, I mean that's what you get caught up in. I mean I was telling my referee is like the difference now. The sport has slowed down, and I mean I guess any professional sport could say that, but it's like I mean when I first started, I mean I'd stay up till 1, 2 o'clock to wait. Oh man, the wind's gonna blow 12 miles an hour out the east. What are we gonna do? Or listen to
your own worst enemy.
Yeah, listen to this guy tall man. They catching fish, and it's like when you realize, do what you know how to do, put your heart and soul in it, and do you. Don't let all the external factors of a tournament or just the atmosphere weigh into your decisions. And I mean, I know like there's a rule, the information rule, and I mean I always use. I mean, guys like Dwayne. I mean. Yes, I mean people can sure have good information, but I mean that stuff goes in one ear out the other. I mean some of that stuff, and I mean just to the younger generation, I mean put your heart and soul in it. I mean if it's something you truly love, I mean I started at a little bitty club tournament, and then I worked my way up. I mean in my first couple of years, I was getting my booty kicked by guys like Dwayne and the FLW when that was a thing, and just going back to this format, I mean. It's sometimes you hear the old cliche say, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But anything that ever been truly revolutionized or moved to a higher level, you have to do stuff different. And I mean, I'm sure there been some naysayers or some of the stuff that we've tried to done. But I mean, I think truly with guys like Dwayne, with the input of everybody, that this sport might have a little change coming and different formats, different ideas that'll make it better for everybody.
There's a lot of bass fishermen that are watching you guys because they like this format. What do you think that this is? Do you think this is more exhilarating? Because there's a lot of people waiting to come over now from bass fishing to this. What do you have to say to them?
It's an easy transition. I
Okay.
mean, I really think. I mean, you know, I honestly think guys that are bass fishing can transition into this and be very good because a lot of the techniques that they use, like the deep water, the sonar stuff, and all that stuff that we don't do because we're sight fishermen. We want to be in 1.5 2 foot of clear water where we can see fish, and we get caught up in that to where that's all we want to do. Where these guys can come easily and adapt to what we're doing in shallow water, but they can go in there and do the deep water stuff where they can do the sonar stuff where we're not as good at, and really just raise their level. So. And one last thing I want to say, going
Okay,
back
yeah,
to
yeah.
what you was just saying is, I don't know who it was that says it, but the way you look at things is you win, you never lose. Okay, you never lose. You win and you learn something. You never lose. So if you go into any tournament or anything in life really, if you don't win and you learn something, how did you lose if you learned something? Right? I mean, because if you can take something from every, not say tournament, just this, and you can learn something from it, because look, I've been doing this for over 20 years, fishing professionally, and I learned something. I learned something yesterday. I learned something yesterday, and you soak that in. I don't feel I lost. I feel I learned something. Okay, because why? Because that's going to add to my next experience and give me a better chance to win. Okay, so never look at it as you're a loser. You're not a loser. You out there, you're giving it your all. Just keep it simple. I look at fishing as like going to play golf. I can go in a golf course by myself, not playing against anybody. It's me, the golf course, and the ball. And I take fishing and I do the same thing in fishing. Okay, in the back of my head, I know T. Paul's out there. I know he's a force to be reckoned with. Okay, and so is everybody else. Clark, Kevin, all these other guys. But you know what? I can only control what's in the front of me. I can't control what T. Paul's doing. I can't control what nobody else is doing. I can only control here. So at the end of the day, if I do everything I can do, I felt I succeeded, and it just wasn't my day, but I done my best, and that's all that matters. Eliminate eliminate the things that you can eliminate, which is your failures. Okay, you can't control whether the fish eats or not. Okay, that's up to that fish. But if you go there and you are mentally, physically prepared with the right equipment, the right tools to do it, and you fail, you've done everything you can do, and you should go home and be happy that you succeeded in your agenda of getting out there and eliminating your failures, and it just didn't happen. You didn't catch that right fish, but you succeeded and
Yeah,
learned something.
and you guys are succeeding repeatedly, and that's what you're good at. How does it feel to be sitting in a winner's circle now, looking up at the people that you looked up to? These were your heroes that you fished with, and now you're sharing a reality TV show with them. You're fishing with them, and I know it. How did that feel to know that you guys are fishing in your all's own backyard and not even know?
No, I mean definitely. I mean anytime you win at anything, I mean it goes back to Dwayne said. I mean you worry about what you could control. You take care of what you can take care of, and then you just hope it was enough for that day or that tournament to become a champion and do everything you could do. And I mean just fishing against all these guys and having some success and doing good, it kind of reassuring and telling you that, okay, the stuff you're doing, the way you approach it, the way you handle yourself, the way you fish is successful.
And for you to be with the ones that you watched at one day, you called them a young buck, or they were the younger generation, and now to see that, is that a very proud moment for you?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, as much as people want to blame me for selling him that first boat that I never ever used and sold it to him, I'm just so proud because I feel like I'm part of it. I love sharing success with other guys, and I mean whether he believes it or not, I mean I know he does, but I feel just so excited, when stuff like this happens, because the reason why is because I know the emotions that I go through when I had my success, and I know what it means to somebody when they put in as much time as what somebody else puts in to be able to have that feeling. It's the best feeling in the world. And honestly, it's not that you want to brag about it. I mean, at all. You don't want to brag about this. It's just the feeling that you succeeded at what you was out to conquer. It's more of a self-achievement than that you beat your other peers. It's that. Because at the end of the day, we can win all the tournaments in the world. And you know what? You can win all the money in the world. But you know what you got to show for it? This right here. This is what we all fish for right here. It ain't about the money. It's not about the, oh, I beat you, you beat me. It's that you have this, that you feel you conquered your game that week, that day, or that tournament. That's what it's all about.
And, you know, that is coming from a guy that's won close to $1 million in earnings just from his redfish tournament wins. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. I appreciate your time. You guys did phenomenal. I am looking forward to spending some time and watching you in the elimination round. And I am looking forward to seeing you.
I'll be watching you too.
Yeah.
Hey, that's all right. The thing I like about it is I get a second time to get this nailed down. So T-Paul, hey, look, hey,
And he's going against his fishing partner. He's going against his fishing partner, who's now also going against his employer. So this is a big thing. So thank you, guys. I'm gonna let them get back. I'm heading back to Texas. This is the Elite Fishing League. Have a great day.